Good evening, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. This is Rich again, back for your third and final video blog of the night for Saturday night, October 26th, around 8:23 p.m. in Billerica, Massachusetts. The sun's going down, and it's dark out, and we're going to be temperatures in the 30s. Tomorrow it's only going to be in the 50s, and it's going to feel windy. It's going to feel very chilly, but this upcoming week's Indian summer, which is good. So enjoy it while you can in this area, because November, I hear, is going to be a cold and wet and maybe snowy month. We'll wait and see about that. Some news to report: the Boston College football Eagles beat Wake Forest by the score of 23-17 today. The Eagles are one more win away to qualify to go to a bowl game. You need 6 wins in Division 1, or they call it the FBS, the Football Bowl Series, to get a bowl bid. That's unbelievable. And also, one other thing, Patrice Bergeron of the Boston Bruins scored his 500th point today in a game against Toronto Maple Leafs. The last score is 1-0 Bruins second period. I don't really report scores in progress, but that's a milestone. Patrice is halfway to 1,000 points in his NHL career. And that's about it on that. My third and final video blog subject of the night is about the legendary tag team, the Rockers. The Rockers were one of the most famous tag teams in professional wrestling history. Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, they wrestled together for about 6 years, and they had a lot of success in the AWA and WWE. Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty first actually teamed up in 1985, May of 1985, in the Central States territory. It was an NWA affiliated territory, and they actually won the Central States Tag Team Championships in May of 1985 against the Bannon twins, Bart and Brad, but they lost it a week later back to them, and that was just maybe a one-time thing to team up Shawn and Marty, but they didn't have a tag team name in Central States. In early 1986, Shawn and Marty went to the AWA, and they were called the Midnight Rockers. It was an idea for Greg Gagne to have a tag team like the Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, the AWA version of the Rock and Roll Express. And at first, Greg Gagne was going to call the Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty the Country Rockers, but they just didn't. It's country for a national promotion felt too regional, southern, and the AWA was not a southern territory. It was a Midwest territory going nationwide, so they came up with the Midnight Rockers. Shawn and Marty had a legendary tag team feud with Playboy Buddy Rose and Pretty Boy Jug Summers over the AWA World Tag Team Championship. They had some classic battles for months and months over the tag team titles. They even had a great cage match in AWA on Christmas Eve 1986, where the Midnight Rockers beat Doug Summers and Playboy Buddy Rose in a non-title cage match in St. Paul, Minnesota. And the next month, on January 27th, 1987, the Midnight Rockers finally won the AWA World Tag Team Championships against Summers and Rose. Amazing matches they had, and considering the Marty and Shawn were basically rookies, Doug Summers, who was a journeyman wrestler, and Playboy Buddy Rose, who was well over 300 pounds, that was some of Playboy Buddy Rose's best work in the ring in that feud. It was amazing. And the Rockers held on to the Midnight Rockers held on to the tag team titles for the AWA for about 4 months, but they dropped it to Boris Zubkov and Soviet Ustinov at a house show in May of 1987, and the Midnight Rockers got a call from the WWE to join them. And a few days later, the Midnight Rockers faced off against the Hart Foundation Bret the Hitman Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart for a tag team title match, because the Hart Foundation was the tag team champions in the WWE at the time, in a house show in Minnesota. And the Midnight Rockers had one tape match in the first stint in the WWE in the spring of 1987. It was a wrestling challenge match. They beat Jose Estrada and Jimmy Jack Funk, but afterwards they were fired because the boys and like a lot of the wrestlers in the back, like there was heat with the Midnight Rockers, plus they were partying too much during the tapings of Wrestling Challenge, so we were fired. And then the Midnight Rockers went to Continental Wrestling. They were nicknamed Midnight Rockers and Rollers, as Gordon Solie would say, because it was a YouTube match that he called with Sean and Marty. And then Sean and Marty went to the CWA, the Memphis territory, where they feuded with the Nasty Boys and the Rock and Roll RPMs, and then the Rock and Roll Express, who was like in between stints with Jim Crockett Promotions. They left Jim Crockett Promotions for a while in like late 1987, early 1988 to go to like Memphis, and the Midnight Rockers actually played the heels against the Rock and Roll Express. You couldn't have the Rock and Roll Express heels against the Midnight Rockers as faces, and the Midnight Rockers showed some potential as heels. They weren't like the best heels, but they were decent. And then the Midnight Rockers went back to the AWA and actually won the AWA World Tag Team Championship for a second time against the original Midnight Express, and that was in December of 1987, and it kind of shifted back and forth between AWA and Memphis for a while. They were faces in AWA and heels in Memphis territory, and they also won this Memphis version of the AWA Tag Team titles, the Southern version of the AWA Tag Team titles, a couple of times. And then the Midnight Rockers asked Vern Gagne for a guaranteed contract to stay in the AWA, but Vern said no way, and the Rockers dropped the tag team titles to Bad Company, which was Pat Tanaka and Paul Diamond, in March of 1988. And afterwards, the Midnight Rockers left the AWA to return to the WWE, and they shortened the name to the Rockers. The Rockers made their debut in the WWE TV debut in June of 1988, and they were pretty good. So, they had a lot of wins on television. They feuded with such teams as the Brain Busters, Arn Anderson, and Tully Blanchard. They started a feud at a WWE Superstars of Wrestling match where both teams were fighting around the ring, and they were both counted out. And then the Rockers and the Brain Busters had some great classic matches. Some classic matches at house shows. Some of them were some of the best tag team matches in WWE history. And then the Rockers faced off against the Twin Towers, which was Akeem and the Big Boss Man at WrestleMania 5. They got crushed by the Twin Towers. Then the Rockers started a feud with the Fabulous Rougeau brothers, Jacques and Raymond Rougeau, on a taping of WWE Wrestling Challenge, because the Rougeau brothers came out to a music which they sang All American Boys, saying they were from Memphis, but the Rougeaus were from Montreal, Quebec, Canada, but they were using the All American Boys gimmick. And then Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty come out, and they sing a song, and then the Rougeaus attack them, and then the Rougeaus attack Shawn Michaels using Jimmy Hart's megaphone, who was the Rougeau brothers manager at the time. And they had some classic house show feuds, the Rougeau brothers and Rockers. Some of them were Iron Team matches, 60 minutes. Amazing matches, I hear. And then the Rockers feud with the Powers of Pain on house shows, and then they got into a mini feud with the Hart Foundation on television in the late winter spring of 1990, where they were teasing the Hart Foundation heel turn with Bret the Hitman Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart against The Rockers, Shawn Michaels, and Marty Jannetty, they had some television matches with, I think, Shawn Michaels against Bret the Hitman Hart on Wrestling Challenge, where they were both disqualified because D'Angelo and Marty Jannetty were interfering. And also, like, the Rockers were feuding with the Orient Express, which was Tanaka and Sato. The Rockers lost by countout. And also, the Rockers were feuding with Demolition over the WWE Tag Team Championships over this time as well. Demolition turned heel, which, you know, I was hoping the Hart Foundation would turn heel, but Demolition turned heel because they got a third member, Crush. That's another video blog for another day. And then during the summer of 1990, the Rockers started a new feud with a new team called Power and Glory, which was Paul Roma and Hercules. It all started when, like, Roma was attacked by Dino Bravo after a match, and then the Rockers tried to help out Paul Roma, but he didn't want any help, and then Hercules comes down, and then the Rockers, like, beat up on Hercules and Paul Roma, and they have a match at SummerSlam 1990, but Shawn Michaels hurt his knee at a house show, and he couldn't wrestle all the match, so they had an injury angle, and Shawn Michaels was out, and Power and Glory beat Marty Jannetty easily. Shawn needed surgery, and he was out for several weeks, and this was a time when the WWE was going to be putting the tag team titles on the Rockers, and this was going to be a Saturday night's main event taping at Fort Wayne, Indiana on October 30th, 1990, because the story was the WWE was filing Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and they were going to push Bret Hart. This was going to be the start of a single push. It was going to be a 2 out of 3 fall match. The Hart Foundation were going to play the de facto heels, and they came out with, like, different, like, pink jackets, like Confederate jackets, and the Rockers, came out as well. But midway through the first fall of the match, the ring ropes broke, and it caused a lot of commotion and stuff. The Rockers won the tag team titles 2 falls to 1, but the ring ropes were broke and stuff, and they could not edit it for television for the Saturday night's main event. Rockers defend the tag team titles for about a week or two until the WWE says they weren't going to show that match on Saturday night's main event. And also, I heard something, there was rumors that Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart actually wanted the tag team titles back, and somehow Jim the Anvil Neidhart got rehired by the WWE, so the tag team title reign of the Rockers was null and voided. It didn't even exist. It doesn't count as a reign. And then the Rockers wrestled the Orient Express again at Royal Rumble 1991 on a great opening tag team match, one of the best openings for a pay-per-view, which like, the Rockers will beat them, the Orient Express. The Mask, Kato, was Paul Diamond. And then Rockers had another great opening match against the Faces of Fear, Haku and Barbarian. They weren't called the Faces of Fear back then. They were managed by Bobby the Brain Heenan. But this is around the time where backstage, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty were not getting along. There was a lot of dissension among Shawn and Marty. There were rumors that Marty was actually talking with a suit from WCW about bringing The Rock, him, and leaving the WWE, bringing him and Shawn, the Rockers, to WCW. And there was reports that Marty talked to, like, one of Magnum TA and stuff, and Magnum claimed that he told Shawn they made an offer that was a lot of money, like $100,000, but Shawn heard through the grapevine the deal was only like $75,000 plus cycles every, like, 120 days for renewals and stuff. And also there was Marty was on substance abuse and stuff. The Rockers were being, like, pushed on television. It was a stretch they weren't even on television. And by the fall of 1991, the Rockers started to show signs of this dissension on television, like Shawn, like in tag team matches, like Shawn would be distracted and stuff, or he would chase the managers away while Marty gets pummeled, or at the Survivor Series 1991, Shawn Michaels accidentally hits Marty Jannetty, and then Shawn hightails out of town, or there was another television match where Shawn Michaels flirts with a lady and the Rockers almost lose, and there's another time where Shawn Michaels wins without even tagging Marty Jannetty, and then the Rockers had a tag team title match against the Ladies of Doom on WWE Superstars, and the Rockers were so close to winning the WWE tag team titles, but Shawn kicks, he tries to help out Marty, but Hawk, he inadvertently helps Hawk. 1, 2, 3. Rockers lose their chance for the WWE tag team titles, and then Shawn slaps Marty Jannetty in the face. More dissension, and it finally came to a head on the barbershop with Brutus Barber Beefcake, and he talked about dissension. It was in the pages of the WWE magazine. Shawn and Marty tried to patch things up, and Shawn was saying he was a captain of the team, but Marty says there was nobody designated to be the captain. And then they somehow got the difference of past. They shook hands, hugged each other, and people thought the Rockers were going to be back rocking and rolling, but it wasn't meant to be. Shawn Michaels gives Marty sweet chin music, the super kick, and throws him through the plate glass window of the barbershop, breaking up the Rockers and making Shawn an instant heel. There was plans for a Rockers feud after that, but the WWE fired Marty Jannetty because he tested positive for drugs, so he was gone for the WWE for a while, and Shawn became a big star. And then they revived the feud with Shawn and Marty a few times. Like one time on Superstars, Marty comes out of the crowd and he attacks Shawn Michaels, but Shawn Michaels has his manager, Sensational Sherry, and Marty hits Sensational Sherry by accident with the mirror that Shawn carried around. And then Shawn and Marty had a feud over the IC title. Marty was slated to win the IC title at Royal Rumble 1993, but he showed up drunk. Shawn beat him, and Marty was fired again from the WWE. But several months later, Marty Jannetty comes back to the WWE. He was under a hood on Monday Night Raw, and Shawn Michaels was saying he could challenge anybody for the Intercontinental title. And the guy from the hood, Marty Jannetty, pops up, and he challenges Shawn Michaels to a match at Monday Night Raw, and they had a match. Mr. Perfect interviews. Marty Jannetty is the new WWE IC champion, but that was 3 weeks later. Shawn wins back the IC title with help from a bodyguard at a house show in Albany, New York. It was Big Daddy Cool Diesel, and then Shawn and Marty have one more match. It was a classic match on Monday Night Raw. It was voted 1993 Pro Wrestling Illustrated Match of the Year. Shawn Michaels beats Marty Jannetty. Actually, Marty won. He thought he won the IC title again. It was 1, 2, 3, but Shawn Michaels' foot was on the rope, and then that was it. And then that was the end of the feud. Rockers was one of the greatest tag teams of all time. They should have had a WWE tag team title run, but those things happen. It's a world of politics. There was a new Rockers in 1996 with Shawn Michaels and Leif Cassidy, who was Al Snow, but that was a comedy heel tag team that went nowhere. Shawn and Marty had a reunion match against La Resistance in 2005. They won on Monday Night Raw, and that was it. And I'm running out of time for this to be posted on Facebook, so good night, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. 3 more video blogs tomorrow. I'll tell you on the last status on my Facebook one. Good night, everybody.